Hello, everyone. So it's my pleasure to be here. I'm a civic entrepreneur and think tank founder from Switzerland. Thank you very much for the invitation. I guess this is the closest that Switzerland or a citizen of Switzerland can get to the EU institutions that we're invited to talk about failure. Well, never mind. I'm going to share 3 small stories with you. My first story. As many Swiss kids, I've had a quiet and nice childhood with lots of love, cheese, and of course, chocolate. I was a dreamer. I was reading books all the time. I liked going to primary school and I easily passed the test to high school. Everything was fine, but then a few months later, I dropped out. What had happened? When I came to high school for the first time, I had to face complex mathematical problems. And I asked myself, why should I solve them? Furthermore, I had to learn the Latin language. And I asked myself if there were any Romans left. I didn't think so. And the Pope was certainly not going to be my favorite tandem partner in the future. So why the hell should I study Latin? Well, it came as it had to. I've had very bad marks and dropped out of high school. I had failed for the first time. Of course, this was quite of a reality check for me and came as a shock to me, but also my parents. I didn't know what to do. Fortunately, I could go to a secondary school then, and 2 years later passed the test to another high school where I could focus on modern languages, which turned out to be much more successful. I had learned that life is not always straightforward, and sometimes you need to make a detour to find the right place for you. Let me take you flash forward to the second story. It's 10 years later. I'm a law student at the University of Zurich, or at least that's what I'm telling my parents. Actually, I'm doing many other things. I'm enjoying students' life, of course. I'm enjoying my Erasmus here in Montpellier at the beach, doing another Erasmus here in Lausanne, which was also great. And I was also working quite a lot besides my studies. Towards the end of my studies, one day I was asked to co-lead the national youth campaign for the free movement of people with the EU. As you maybe know, in Switzerland, 4 times a year, we vote on different topics. For instance, we vote on if we want more holidays, and then normally we reject it. But the most controversial and most important topics are always the relationship with the EU, because it's also about migration. It would be the same in most EU countries. So I was campaigning for free movement and the extension of free movement of people to the EU, and I really loved it. For instance, we had the chance to create the first viral video in Swiss politics with more than 1 million views. In the end, we won with a large margin, and Switzerland voted for the free movement of people. In all this excitement, I had just forgotten one small thing. That was my master's exams, which were taking place just a few weeks after the end of the campaign. And of course, it came as it had to. I failed my final law degree because I wasn't prepared for it. I was devastated. I really felt stupid, and I also was scared to have lost 5 years of my life. Fortunately, I got a final second chance. I studied really hard, and in the end, I passed it. But it was so close, and you can't imagine how relieved I was. Actually, it turned out that this shock was the best thing that could have happened to me. This time, I decided to follow my passion. Instead of becoming a lawyer, I founded a grassroots think tank for foreign policy, which is called foraus, Forum Außenpolitik. With some friends, we started not in a garage, but kind of similar. in a very cheap and small office space next to a bar in the red light district of Zurich. Our goal was to give hundreds of young foreign policy addicts a platform for their ideas and also access to decision makers. 10 years later, foraus is a well-known foreign policy think tank in Switzerland. We have 15 employees. It's one of the bigger think tanks in Switzerland. We have more than 1,000 volunteers contributing with their ideas. And we have even co-founded 5 similar grassroots think tanks in the EU. So what have I learned from this shock of not passing my law degree? I've learned that a major failure can be the route for something new, if you are ready to go all in and take the necessary risks also. Now, let me take you to my third story. After 10 years of leading foraus, the think tank, I quit and handed the presidency over to Anna, my successor. And I decided to run for parliament. Why did I decide to run for parliament? I wanted to take the responsibility and not just bring ideas in from the outside, as I was doing before as a think tanker. As an NGO leader, I've made the experience that I was always knocking at the door of politics from the outside. As a member of parliament, I could have been on the other side and being able to open that door from the inside, to give access to people with great ideas, give them a voice and have them being part of decision-making. I wanted to crowdsource the best ideas from civil society. I was really working hard for my party and the campaign went very well. I ran under the slogan of Mitmachpolitik, which can be translated to participation politics, and I even had a logo on which I remotely looked like Che Guevara with a bow tie. Well, the election day came, and of course I didn't expect to win because I was an outsider in politics and it was my first run. But still, I was sitting in the boardroom looking at all these screens and the numbers of the votes started coming in and it was looking astonishingly good. I was getting closer and closer. And in the end, more than 52,000 people voted for me. But I still failed by a mere 1,000 votes. 6 people from my party were elected. I was number 7. So I was quite sad, of course, but I was also proud of what we have achieved. And what certainly helped was that the 6 who made it, they really deserved it. Even if I had failed, it was worth to follow my heart and take the risk. What have I learned with this experience? The best things often come from failures. You need to trust in the power of serendipity. Something else will come, even if you don't know about it yet. But you need to be ready. Flash forward to today. What am I doing after all these failures? Well, I think that they have given me the strength and resilience to become a co-founder of several other civil society startups and also a party leader in my region. And I'm also writing my first book now together with a German MEP, Andreas Schwab. We're writing about the past and the future of the relationship between Switzerland and the EU. And of course, it's a book full of failures. If I'm looking back, I can connect the dots between my early failures and becoming a political entrepreneur today. Because failures always carry a huge potential. It's worth to take the risk because it will bring you to interesting places. And if it hurts too much, just get some Swiss chocolate. Thank you very much.